Welcome to my latest experiment. This is the big one, the one I've been waiting for all my life.
What is it?
Try to imagine all life as you know it stopping instantaneously and every molecule in your body exploding at the speed of light.
Oh my God.
The cream will rise to the top, oh yeah.
And I am the voice of the voiceless.
And there is no one that does it better.
The Guy and Harley podcast, streaming all over your face.
Perhaps that was the most important part.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Pigville on the internet. So you'll be Thor and I'll be Odin. You rodent, I'm omnipotent. Let off, then I'm reloading. Immediately with these bombs I'm toting. And I should not be woken. I'm the walking dead, but I'm a talking head, a zombie floating. Welcome to the Guy and Harley podcast. I'm Guy Pigden.
And I'm Harley Neville, and that was some horror rap for you.
It was. What do they call it? Horrorcore or something?
Horrorcore. Something to that effect.
Something like that. Now, this is episode 37 of the Guy and Harley podcast.
Who was that?
Oh, that was Eminem.
Never heard of him.
Rap from his very excellent track Rap God,
Right.
where he basically shows how good at rapping he is.
Right. Just remind us all that he's still got it.
Yeah, just in many ways, and kind of switches up flows and does a lot of pretty amazing things. So yeah, that was him. That was he off his most recent album. So, well, big news on the Guy and Harley podcast.
Really?
Right off the bat, we have a sponsor.
Oh.
The Guy and Harley podcast today is brought to you by Dr. Feelgood Vietnamese iced coffee body blocks.
And they're delicious.
Ice blocks, basically. So these ice blocks are healthy ice blocks. So, you know that thing where diets where you have to just like eat disgusting things and be miserable and be angry all the time at all the people eating nice things. And that's really the problem. That's the problem with healthy eating in general, really.
Yeah, well, the thing about these ice blocks as well is that normally when you're eating snack foods that are kind of the healthy version of a snack food, you know, you're really just kidding yourself. It tastes like shit.
Yeah.
And, you know, like it's sort of a very poor substitute for the real thing. But I actually genuinely like these ice blocks. They're pretty tasty. I wouldn't actually know that they are healthy.
Yeah, no, me neither. And I think that is the biggest endorsement we can give them.
Yeah.
But they're basically healthy ice blocks. They got low sugar, low carb, organic milk, gluten free, and these ones are protein pops. So for people like me who go to the gym and want to get swole, just chop one of these ice blocks after you go. And but they're really, really good. They're really tasty, and they're just kind of pretty amazing.
Well, where do they get them from?
Well, you can get them from, I believe, the website, which is, I think, I don't know.
drfeelgood.co.nz.
There you go. And basically, you know,
that's DR for doctor, not the full words.
Yeah.
drfeelgood.co.nz.
And that was Danny King who hooked us up with those for sponsoring. So thank you very much for sponsoring the podcast this week. And get some of these ice blocks. They really are really good. And like in terms of, because for me the hardest thing about like when you're sort of going on this sort of high protein, low carb diet is that I find I'm always craving something sweet. And so I've been eating healthy for a while, and then I'm like, God damn, I just want something sweet, but everything sugary is bad. Well, these aren't. So I would highly recommend. But if you want to be a sponsor on our amazing podcast, you can.
Yep, get in touch by emailing harleyneville@hotmail.com. That'll do. Or getting in touch on the Guy and Harley podcast Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Guy and Harley.
So thank you very much for that, Dr. Feelgood.
Yes, first sponsor. This is a monumental moment.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It was a pretty big occasion. I do feel like, however, I say that it's a big occasion or a special occasion on the Guy and Harley podcast, basically every podcast.
Yeah, you said it last week. I'm pretty sure you opened with it last week.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure I'm wearing out that as a thing. Now, Oh, well.
Well, I was just going to say, coincidentally, last week's podcast, I did my poem, Gravity, and Guy and I got spiritual and discussed religion. And then by complete coincidence, my poem got shared on a big website, a big atheist website called pathos.com, and shared on a whole bunch of Facebook pages, and basically it went from having like under 2,000 views to having 5,000 views, and a bunch of people have added me and stuff like that. So if any of you guys are listening to this right now that added me as a result of seeing that poem, hello and welcome along to our podcast.
Thank you. We're probably not going to delve too much into religion on this one. We already covered it. We already solved everything last episode. There's nothing more to say on the matter.
Yeah, we don't talk about it every week.
So I got a couple of topics on the horizon. But have you heard about my girlfriend's reading this book called The Slap? Have you heard about The Slap?
You know, I feel like that is actually vaguely familiar, but refresh my memory.
Well, basically they did like a bad TV movie. It's kind of a TV movie, kind of a story about a guy who slaps a kid. Yeah. And then there's some outrage over the slap. Yeah. And, you know, here we go. The slap makes us question the nature of commitment and happiness, compromise and truth. Whose side are you on? Preferably you'd be on the side of...
the person that slapped the kid. Right? Am I right?
It's now a major... They made it into not just a movie, they made it into a TV series, which is, again, really sort of spinning out something that doesn't need to be a TV series. Just slap the kid and move on, right? Am I right? So anyway, this is listed as a cool, calm, irresistible masterpiece. I have the book. It's an international bestseller. So they wrote this and then they turned it into a TV show.
Right.
Now, I'm going to read you the first page.
Okay. Standing by.
This is from the point of view, the POV of Hector.
Who's Hector?
Well, presumably...
Well, we don't know. It's the first page.
We don't know, but I think you can make some guesses once you get to the end of this page who he is.
Cool. It's the first page. You go.
His eyes still shut, a dream dissolving and already impossible to recall, Hector's hand sluggishly reached across the bed. Good. Aish was up. He let out a victorious fart, burying his face deep into the pillow to escape the clammy methane stink. I don't want to sleep in a boy's locker room, Aisha would always complain on the rare inadvertent moments when he forgot himself in front of her. Through the years, he had learned to rein his body in, to allow himself to only let go in solitude, farting and pissing in the shower, burping alone in the car, not washing or brushing his teeth all weekend when she was away at conferences.
Ugh.
It was not that his wife was a prude, she just seemed to barely tolerate the smells and expressions of the male body. He himself would have no problem falling asleep in a girl's locker room, surrounded by the moist, heady fragrance of sweet young cunt.
Ooh.
Afloat, still half entrapped in sleep's tender clutch, he twisted onto his back and shifted the sheet off his body. Sweet young cunt had spoken out loud. Connie. At the thought of her, sleep surrendered its grip on him. Aish would think him a pervert if he had overheard him, but he was definitely not that. He simply loved women. Young, old, those just starting to blossom, and those beginning to fade. And sheepishly, almost embarrassed at his own vanity, he knew what that woman loved him. Woman loved him. That's Hector.
Yeah, good for him. No, good for him. You know?
Now,
I can relate to a few things in there. You know, women want me for a start.
You also often think of sweet young cunt.
I'm very rarely not thinking about sweet young cunt. And also, I get in trouble for farting in front of Angie. So, you know, and I piss in the shower.
Wait, what?
Wait, what?
But, you know, I think this is a perfect example of a little bit of overwriting here.
Mm-hmm.
about sort of setting up your villain a little too villainously right off the bat. Like, you could have spread all that out over a bit more time, but already you're really asking the audience to root against you, although you seem to have championed him. Yeah,
well, don't bloody judge a book by its first page, though. You know, this guy's a champion of the everyman. You know, like. Well, what man doesn't like farting and fucking? These are things that men like and think about.
Hector is
we don't think about farting, we just do it.
Hector is a champion of the what?
Everyman.
The everyman. Hector in the slap is a champion of the everyman.
That's an endorsement from Harley Neville.
Now, I'll bet my bottom dollar that
he's the one that
Hector
slaps?
is the guy that does some slapping later on.
Well, you're probably right.
But to
be fair, sometimes kids need a slap.
Well, this is how you set up your antagonist. Basically, have him fantasizing about people that aren't his wife, farting and being disgusting.
Yeah.
And also kind of being douchey, and
chicks love me.
Yeah, that wasn't even said once; that was said twice, with italics on the second one, just so you got it. And I think that what would have been a more interesting thing is to kind of thread some of this stuff through. Not on just the first page, and kind of present a more sympathetic view of a guy that slapped a kid, as opposed to, a farting, womanizing bastard.
Well, no, but that's the point, because we don't know what the book's about, but presumably, he's this piece of shit, and he slaps the kid, and then it becomes a big story about, whether or not, maybe if a nice guy had slapped a kid, he wouldn't have been in trouble.
Right.
Like maybe it's about that, it's about perceptions and so on.
I guess my issue with it is, I feel like they're presenting the case with this person being dislikable already, so that when he does the slap, you automatically know which side to take.
Right, but I mean, in the book, we don't. Which side do they take? Are they saying it's bad to slap kids?
Yes.
Because,
of course, that's what they're saying.
Well, why? It seems to me that you could have kids need some discipline sometimes, and there's this PC mad world we've got here. There was a guy a wee while ago when we first passed the anti-smacking bill in New Zealand, and he got seen by a cop flicking his kid's ear. Like his kid was fucking around near the road, and he had two kids with him. He had a big brother and a little brother, and the big brother, I think, was fucking around near the road while the dad was trying to look after the little brother.
Yeah.
And he said oi, and he flicked him, like literally flicked him like you'd flick a booger, but flicked him in the ear and said, oi, sort your shit out, come over here and stop fucking around by the road, help me look after your brother or whatever. And an off-duty police officer happened to walk past, saw it all go down, and this guy got charged for under this new anti-smacking law as essentially as assault, so maybe it's that type of slap.
Well, you see, that's the thing,
where it's like
I feel
justified.
There you're presenting
silly bullshit.
Kind of a guy, with justification, with his own thoughts, kind of just disciplining his kid, because there's no mention of sweet young cunt in that story.
Yeah. But he clearly likes sweet young cunt because he's got two fucking kids. At least. He's got at least two. The protagonist of this story has at least two children. Well, so he's had sex at least twice.
But let me pose the question. Is that cunt sweet or young at this point?
Well, we don't know. This is speculation.
Also, the second kid would definitely be neither, right?
Yeah. Well, it depends if it's from the same woman.
Well, I guess so.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that it is.
Yeah. But that's fine. Maybe he doesn't like sweet young cunt. Maybe he likes beat up old cunt. It's irrelevant to the story arc, It still paints him in the same light.
Well, you'd be painted as much more a sympathetic person if you did
old beat up cunt.
Yeah, old beat up
quote.
Cunt. Yeah. Yeah, you'd be much more on board.
Do you think?
Yeah, because girls would be
because
he's accepting of our bodies changes.
Because Hector has a fucking paragraph in there where he says that he likes beat up old cunt. That's a fading glory, old cunt.
Well, he said he likes all women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he specifically said old, fading.
Yeah, he did say, where is that line? Well, he said those beginning to fade.
Yeah, but he says before that, he says, young cunt, old cunt, just beginning to blossom cunt.
Well, he says young, old, those just starting to blossom.
Yeah.
Which again kind of
Now, that's
implies
definitely quite
that he's
filthy.
a teenager kind of rapist type of dude.
Yeah, that he definitely is chasing
and so already
the 13-year-olds.
Yeah, we've got this guy.
Yeah.
We've really got a bad guy on our hands.
Yeah.
And so I guess my issue is I think that it should be more like the ear flicking guy, and it's like make up your own mind where you sit on this. I think by the end of the slap, you're going to be sitting firmly on the anti-slapping, thing.
Look, Guy, I think that the answer here is that clearly you need to sit down and read that entire book because
which is just so we're clear, they made this into 570. This is 570 pages long.
Right. So, you need to sit down and read all 570 pages before you decide, because it might be that this author is a genius. He's setting up this horrible, dislikable, unlikable person. Well, but by the end of the book, you're championing him. You're like, well, look, he didn't actually do anything wrong. This is a silly. I thought that was what it was about. Like some guy slaps a kid, and then the amount of outrage over this internet outrage goes wild.
Right.
And then by the end of it, you're actually, you're in the team of Hector, saying this is silly. This is fucking silly. He slapped a kid that was being naughty or something like that.
That is 100%, I'm sure, not the case.
Well, there's only one way to find out.
Well, there is another way, and it's called Wikipedia.
Right.
And that's what we may exercise before we follow up on this topic next time.
Right. Maybe I'll read it.
Yeah, maybe you will. Maybe you won't though.
Maybe I won't. Well, the thing is, it's definitely at least 6 months away by the time I read that. I've got a back catalogue of shit I need to read.
Yep. So that was an excerpt from The Slap. Mm-hmm. If that makes you interested, you can purchase that book.
You can pirate that on
Kindle,
Word,
Amazon. Speaking of books, I wrote a book the other day.
You did?
I did write a book.
Tell you what, this was a very romantic notion. This was something that I feel like it really earned you some points.
It did. I've had meals made for me.
Yeah.
I don't do any cleaning.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in the good zone over this thing. So basically, what I did is I wrote what was intended to be
wrote a book about his mum, and she moved in. So he doesn't cook anymore, and he doesn't have to clean.
And we're very happy. And she does take good care of me, Mum. But no, so I wrote this, what I intended to be a 3 to 5 page story for my girlfriend.
Now, why did you write this for her?
Because it was her birthday coming up. And I wanted to do something that didn't cost me any money.
Well, I was going to say, why didn't you buy her a necklace or something?
Yeah, so I don't have any money really, and so I couldn't just go and do the thing which I would have liked to have done, which is just make a purchase somewhere, like for per se the warehouse, and get something cool,
get like a broom or something,
get a new broom,
ironing board.
Girls always need that type of thing, and they really appreciate it. Yeah. And so I couldn't afford a broom, and so I was like, okay, well, what am I going to do? Oh, well, look, I'm a writer. This is what I do. I write things. I will write her a story.
Yeah.
I'll sort of write her a fairy tale, and I will sort of incorporate our lives into it. And
is there a chivalrous best friend of the?
He doesn't make it into this one.
Oh, ouch! Ouch.
That might. Well, you've got it. You haven't cracked into it yet.
Angie's reading it at the moment.
Oh, Angie's reading
I'm still on Game of Thrones. Sorry, bro. I'm going to Game of Thrones for my fantasy.
I've opted for Game of Thrones over your fantasy book. But basically, what happened is it wasn't 3 pages. It ended up being like 30 pages. And, it wasn't like it ended up taking about a month and a half to write. And completely backfiring on me, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
In terms of, because I'm happy to put in, several days worth of effort into creating something for someone. That's no problem. I draw pictures sometimes for people, but that doesn't take this long. And basically it kind of ran away on me where I was sort of like, okay, well, what happens now? And then it was a matter of pride as well, because I was like, well, I can't just tell like a shitty, lame story. I'm a writer. This is my job.
Well, also because it's her birthday as well, so you don't want to be giving her a shit story for her birthday.
Yeah, and you got to throw in twists.
And she has to pretend that she likes it.
And turns, and it's like it was the same as almost filmmaking, whatever. It's like I want to take you on a journey. I don't want to do something kind of half-assed. And whenever I kind of get that singular focus, I often do things obsessively until, whatever the outcome is. And in this case, the outcome is like 17,000 pager.
17,000 pages?
17,000 words, sorry. I'm not that prolific. 17,000 words, sort of, which is a length of a short novella, and a novella is essentially half of a novel, half to a third of a novel, depending on the novel's length. So it really kind of took on a life of its own, and it was actually a very cool experience because I've always entertained the idea of perhaps writing fiction, but have always been like, it's so different from script writing. And it is, and it's so, in a way, more difficult, I think, that I was like, well, am I really actually able to write, like, eloquently and well in that format, or is it going to just be a piece of shit? And I guess the jury's still out, because you haven't read it.
I haven't read it yet.
But she liked it.
Yeah, well, she would tell you that, though, wouldn't she?
Well, she'd have to, because it took me so long.
And it was a birthday present.
Yeah.
And you got it lovely, you got it printed out in a lovely, nice cover and all that.
Yeah, the money-saving aspect
didn't work
completely
out
backfired. Because
how much did that cost? Oh, I guess you don't want to say.
Let's just say it was over...
More expensive than a broom.
Well, more expensive. It was definitely over $90.
Shit. So should have just bought her that necklace from the warehouse.
Well, yeah, I know. But that was the thing is like when these things, and this is often what you find with filmmaking is you start doing something and then you start working it more and more, and you're like, well, shit, I can't just it can't just come out. Yeah. We have to pay for a proper sound mix.
Yeah. If you're going to do it, you got to do it properly, right?
Yeah, and so it was like, well, I just can't just email this to her.
Yeah,
I've got to bind it and put it in a proper book format. And so I did do that. So it was a very interesting exercise because also, if that took me a month and a half, then you could sort of estimate that, sort of within 4 to 6 months, you could actually write a sort of a shorter book, if you stuck at it.
Well, I was actually...
I Survived a Zombie Holocaust too. The novel.
The novel, yeah. I was actually downstairs at the time doing very important work on my computer the night that Shelley brought home the book.
Yeah.
And I was down there and I could hear her, so this is a testament to your writing, I could hear her chuckling, in the good way. Sort of quite a lot of chuckling, quite a lot of chuckles were coming out of the room. So she was clearly enjoying it.
Yeah. Well, I also did not want to make it too dry because there's a fairy tale, obviously. It's not really jokes in fairy tales as such. It's not really... And even in fantasy, there's some humor, but it's very... Like, Terry Pratchett is the main guy of doing, like, funny fantasy.
Yeah.
But it's really quite rare. It's all very kind of po-faced as a general rule. And, that's not really my vibe. So I also did want to make it sort of chuckle-worthy. So that's good to hear.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you ever want to know how long it takes to write 17,000 words...
how many pages was
a month
that?
and a half. Well, because it varies. It depends what font you use.
How many pages did you print?
Well, 47.
So your book is 47 pages long presently.
Yeah, in the format that it is.
Yeah.
But it'd probably be more like 30 if it was in a slightly smaller font.
Right.
Because it's a big book. So there you go. I wrote a novel, put off writing many scripts and other important things to do that. But I love my girlfriend very much, and I was happy for
L-bomb
to do that.
Did you just drop an L-bomb?
My dear girlfriend, so I'm very happy, and that she got that. And I also talk about Blowjob.
L-bomb?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we dropped our...
You dropped the L-bomb.
Yeah, we dropped it well, truly. But, you know, also, there is a thing in life called blowjob points, right? And it's how many points you accumulate with your girlfriend to earn a blowjob.
Right.
Now, it varies from girl to girl because some girls will like giving blowjobs more than others.
Yeah.
You know, so for some, you know, it's not a big deal. You don't need to
you don't need the points.
You don't need any points, really.
Yeah.
And for others, you really got to do some good work to acquire enough points.
Yeah.
It's kind of like XP in Final Fantasy.
Right.
Where, you know, you get enough to reach the next level.
Yeah, and then you get your Final Fantasy.
which is a blowjob.
Yeah.
Which is all guys' Final Fantasy.
Which is,
a blowjob.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is the guys that play Final Fantasy what they dream of, what they fantasize about while playing Final Fantasy.
Is one day receiving a blowjob.
Or one day getting a blowjob from one of the female characters or male characters from the game that they're playing.
Red X.
Which
that's who I'd choose. Red X if I had to choose
and
one.
If you don't know who Red X is, he's a male wolf dog. Wolf dog lion hybrid sort of thing.
So
that's who I would probably pick Ares for me, dear Ares, or
if you want to delve deep into Final Fantasy VII nerddom,
or Tifa
on the podcast, Tifa
with the rack.
Yeah,
she was pretty.
Tifa with those pixelated rack from Final Fantasy VII on the PlayStation 1.
Well, you're more thinking about the artwork that accompanies it than the crude depiction in the actual game.
Hey, didn't stop me.
It didn't stop you reaching your limit break.
You remember? Do you remember? Your PlayStation broke while I had it. With Final Fantasy VII.
Right, did it?
Yeah, do you remember I borrowed Final Fantasy VII and your PlayStation for ages?
And you broke it.
Well, it broke. I didn't actually do anything.
Yeah.
Although it might have been the tons of spooge
that you heaped upon it.
That I heaped upon it.
while playing.
But yeah, I've sent it back. I took it back. I was like, look, man, I don't know what happened. It just stopped working. Because it genuinely did. I didn't drop it or anything or spill something on it.
Yeah.
And then you just took it and got it repaired. And I was like, sweet, dodge that bullet.
Right. So
you don't remember that at all?
I do remember it now that you remind me. Yeah. But I find it hard to believe that I didn't say that you broke my PlayStation.
No, you were kind of cool about it. You were kind of like, okay, all right. And then you took it away, and I think you got it repaired, or maybe it was under insurance, or I don't know what happened, but I never had to pay anything.
Yeah.
So good friends, eh? I borrowed that for months as well to play Final Fantasy VII. Never finished it. Got up to the final boss.
And couldn't beat him.
Didn't have the power levels. Hadn't reached the levels yet.
Yeah, could not. Sephiroth couldn't defeat him.
Which reminds me, Sephiroth. I reckon that's a good name for a kid, for your child.
Yeah, because then you could call him Seth.
Yeah. If you have to.
Yeah. I'm with you. Well, I finished that, and I also beat Ruby Weapon or Emerald Weapon or whatever the hardest boss was, which took about 5. Just walking around for 30 hours, getting random encounters so you got your levels up high enough to be able to fight them and not be annihilated in one move.
Yeah, well, that's where I got bored, leveling up.
Leveling up is the worst thing about what's known as JRPGs, Japanese RPGs.
Yeah.
It's very prevalent within that they have sort of the best stories and the kind of the most interesting, unique characters, but then butcher it all by having to encounter 5 million just random encounters that you can't see. You just go into a fight with them and you're just for fuck's sake, I fought you. How is anyone in the world going, you know what, I wanted to fight this enemy 100 times with using exactly the same strategy all 100 of those times. So bit of Final Fantasy lore there for you.
Bit of nerddom for you.
But if anyone...
So before we got into Final Fantasy, you were going somewhere with that.
Not really. I was just saying I wrote that.
Right.
That was all.
Okay. All right. Cool.
I did a thing for my girlfriend to never repeat again.
Well, see, I do think you were still developing your art, though. It was still beneficial beyond the blowjobs. Beyond the points that I acquired. Beyond the blowjob points that I acquired
from this act of kindness.
Yeah.
No, I definitely agree. I think it was good. It was very painful. I really found it difficult and disliked it and was very angry at many times while I was writing it. But I'm very happy that I did it. And I do think it was like a great kind of thing to do.
This might be the first time you get in trouble on the podcast for something you said on the podcast.
I can't get in trouble. I've said all positive things.
Well, yeah, but we went from I love you
blowjob
to
points.
blowjobs.
Oh, yeah.
No.
We've already discussed blowjob points because I was cashing them in. I wanted to know how many I was cashing
Yeah,
in.
you guys have, but not publicly. What if your mum listens?
Her mum?
Yeah.
Oh, no, she won't be listening.
She's banned.
Yeah, she's banned from the podcast.
All right.
Because Angie's listening, she'll be like, oh, how many blowjob points are you expecting for this, Harley? We've been together for 4 years.
I'll have you know that I'm very satisfied and happy in my sex life, and I would never be so crass as to speak about it publicly, so we'll leave it at that.
That got you 2 blowjob points.
That got me 2 points, yes! See, I resisted saying something horrible. That's like points, I reckon. Okay, so I had another audition.
Oh, good for you. And how was it? I hope it was fucking good because it's useless now, isn't it? Fuck's sake, man, you're amateur.
Yeah.
My shit's blown up lately.
You've had a lot of auditions.
My shit is blown up lately. So I've had 2 auditions since the last podcast. One was the Yorkshire one, which went alright. Or did we talk about that? I'm not sure. But like, I had the Yorkshire one.
We talked about that.
And that went alright. And then I got a call up and I had another one for an ad the next day, which was perfectly suited to me. In the sense that, it was kind of a comedic role. I can't really talk too much about it, but it was a comedic role. And I got to be topless. My first topless audition. And seeing as I'm incredibly hairy, that is quite comedic, right?
Yep.
And so yeah, and that went all right. And it was Australian accent, that one.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I never learnt an Australian accent. I know there's this whole thing that we say, like, I've got this great Australian accent.
Mastery of the Australian accent.
Because I was in an Australian ad once. But I never, like on the day, I remember when I had that audition, they were like, okay, so Australian accent, okay? And I was like, oh yeah, sure, no problem. And I went in basically and just spoke like a Kiwi.
Yeah.
And then I got the ad somehow, and then I did the role, and then on the day, like I was just like, fuck, I hope they don't actually really ask me to do an Australian accent because I don't know how.
Yeah. But you do from your training of being a dicky little Australian in Australia and then coming back and having that accent.
Yeah.
So that's when you acquired it, and now you just slip right back in whenever you want.
Yeah, well, that's true. I'll read you here though. I'm just looking for something,
okay.
But I'm going to find the description of the role that I went for.
Okay. Well, while you do that, Aliza's loaded right now.
No, keep going.
We just watched I've got some movie reviews coming in. First one, Macbeth.
Yep.
The new Macbeth.
Which is topical because
we're working on a Macbeth.
Yeah.
Ourselves. Now, this is my girlfriend's review of it. I liked it.
So this is the new Macbeth with Michael Fassbender.
Yeah, with Michael Fassbender. I was thinking about us always calling him Fassbender, right? I really want to work with him one day.
Yeah.
Now,
I actually really respect the guy.
Like, he is amazing. He is one of the greatest actors of his generation. And so I'm not sure if that's putting me in good stead.
No, it's definitely not. If you ever become successful, this
podcast is not putting me in good stead, full stop.
It's going to come back to haunt you, definitely.
It's not at all putting us in good stead. So anyway, he is Macbeth. He plays Macbeth. Some hot foreign chick plays Lady Macbeth. Can't remember her name off the top of my head, but she's been in heaps of stuff. She was in the Da Vinci Code, and she was in, I believe, that's all I remember her from. I don't know. But anyway, amazing acting. But this is my girlfriend's review. I liked it when I wasn't napping. Because
do they speak all throughout thou and Twitter?
They do.
Right.
Out.
Well, there's the issue.
Out, damn spot, out I say. Will these hands ne'er be clean? So I think that this is the thing, is like, it looked amazing, it was super cool, the story of Macbeth is great, so it's got all the elements, but there was an element of disconnect that you can only associate with the fucking wordy Shakespeare language. And that's the thing, is like, everyone...
Because you're like, get on with it. I know what you're saying. You're saying you're going to go and you feel guilty.
But
so don't say I'm steeped in blood so deep that to go forward is the same as to go back. You know, just say you feel guilty. I'm feeling quite guilty about killing all of these people.
Yeah. Stars... hide my fires or let them not see my deep and black desires.
Yeah.
So, it's bullshit.
Dribble.
Nonsense. Shakespeare, what the fuck were you thinking?
Well, he was high. Did you see that? That came out recently?
No.
You didn't catch up with that?
No.
Yeah, well, because I follow a few marijuana enthusiast Facebook pages, purely as an observation. And...
for observational purposes
and
on marijuana users.
And there was recently, they found, some archaeologist-style people found pipes in his backyard, and they contained traces of, some of them tobacco, and some of them weed.
Shakespeare was high as a kite when he wrote Macbeth.
Yeah, he was... Well, it makes sense, doesn't it? You're going to sit back, you're going to smoke up a doobie, and then you're going to go in and write some fucking, epic stories.
And he's going to use words like zounds.
And you're going to make
with
up...
a Z.
And you're going to make up, literally 100 words and add them to the English accent.
and then...
language.
And then people were going to call you a genius.
Yes.
But really, Shakespeare was just a stoner.
Yeah.
Who was stealing from history, because all of his plays are basically ripped off from sort of history at the time or prior.
But that's the equivalent of sort of doing a contemporary story about, immigration and refugees and stuff like that.
All I'm just saying is he didn't have an original thought in his head. No, Shakespeare's very good. But I do think that there is no matter how, because this is the thing, is like this Macbeth, it was amazing acting. It was beautifully shot.
Yeah.
It was, brutal. It was chilling, and it was just great, visually.
Yeah.
But as soon as they started yakking on, you were kind of like, oh yeah, that's right. This is like something else away from me.
Yeah.
This is a disconnect from my time, but not only my time, but even I don't know anyone who talks like this. And I really...
And I have to concentrate to figure out what the fuck they're saying.
Yeah, and the thing is, what they're saying is beautiful. It is poetic. It is poetry. But it is still not like, me and you talking on the podcast. Relatable.
Yeah.
And so I did think, I was like, shit, man, this is so cool. But for non-Macbeth / Shakespeare enthusiasts, and I will say it was all mostly old people at the screening.
Old people who fucking remember hanging out with Shakespeare.
Who remember kicking it with Shakespeare. and so, it is like... It's going to be lost on people. And the only one that really successfully did it was Romeo and Juliet.
I was going to say, I've got two things to say about that. One, I've got one thing to say about it and one segue.
Yeah.
One is that Romeo and Juliet, I for some reason, that movie doesn't bother me. I really like the language in that.
Do you bite your tongue at me, sir?
Yeah, it's good. Bite your thumb.
Oh, yeah, whatever.
Bite your thumb, you savage. You uncouth swine.
Well, also, he's like, no, sir, but I bite my thumb, sir.
Yeah, but I don't bite my thumb at you, sir. I bite my thumb, but not at you, sir.
Like, what's he doing biting his thumb? Is he a baby?
Well, he's just trying to get out of trouble. He's trying to get out of trouble. You say the same thing.
The Capulets of the Montagues. Yeah, shame how that all ended.
Yeah.
But,
all that youth suicide. Classic.
Classic Shakespeare. People dying at the end.
Yeah. People, and they've been together. Like, you do the maths, and they've actually been together for the whole relationship is like a week or a month or something.
Did they ever actually have sex?
Yeah, they have one magical night under the covers, remember? And he has to sneak out when the maid comes in the morning or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He capitulated her Montague.
I see what you did. Capuleted. I see what you did there.
It's good.
Now, But speaking of old people in the cinema, I wanted to say that I am now an old person. Now, I know we always rabbit on about this being old thing, but it's because things keep happening that make us feel old. Like, so, for example, the other night I was at my acting class, and there's this woman there who's like literally a nana. Like literally. She's got children in their 30s, and those children have children. She's literally a nana. Now, admittedly, she's a bit of a good-looking nana. Like, she doesn't look like a nana. Like, she doesn't look really old and nana-ish. She's what's known as a NILF. And I hope she's not listening. But you know, so the other day we were sitting there, and the tutor goes, because there's a Tuesday class and a Thursday class, and I'm in the Thursday class, and the tutor goes, "Oh yeah, my Tuesday class is really, really full of young people, very young people." And then in my class, you know, everyone's not that old. They're like sort of 20s, I guess. It'd be most people kind of 20 something. But anyway, the nana was sitting next to me, and she looks over and she goes, "Yeah, I guess you and I are the only old people in this class."
You were like,
and I was like, "Excuse?"
You're like, "What, bitch?"
Like, literally,
I'm one of the young people.
I'm the age of your child. Like, what are you calling me old for? You're like, this is like a 60-year-old woman or something calling me the same age as her.
I'm the age of your son.
Yes. So I think it's time that I shave my beard anyway. Yeah. Because clearly I look like shit.
Yeah. Well, you got to hold on to it for a little bit longer.
Well, speaking of looking like shit, anyway. So back to that audition for the Aussie thing. I found what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Now, without saying too much, I can just say that the description of the character is an overweight, undesirable man in his 20s. Now, to be fair, they did broaden it, and they said, okay, he doesn't have to be overweight anymore, because I guess they didn't get any good actors in, and
but they
hadn't found the guy. But they were like,
but
okay,
definitely undesirable.
Like, undesirable. My agent was like, undesirable. Who do I have on my books that's undesirable? Harley, of course, with the hairy back and the bald head and the old beard. Yes, he looks 60.
He's so undesirable. He would be perfect for this role.
Never fuck him.
You go, who is the most unfuckable person I have on my books? Who we got?
Harley. Yes. So that's good. That's almost as well. I mean, it's actually worse than the last one I got, which was where I had to be the character was a chubby guy with skin the color of boiled chicken. That was.
I mean, that didn't say you were undesirable.
No,
it basically said you were pale,
and chubby. So rough one.
Well, we've got a viewer. Or a listener question.
So
no one views this.
No.
Unless they're on YouTube.
So we do have a listener question, but I thought we would... it's about Mars. So we might as well do it after you have done your review of The Martian with zero spoilers in it, because I swear to God, if you spoil anything for me, I'll be real upset, because I'm actually going to watch this one. Yeah,
so The Martian, I watched The Martian, which is Ridley Scott's new film with Matt Damon. Mm-hmm. Do you really what do you think about his Matt Damon? Do you think, does he take it humorously? But because it's been such a cultural phenomenon of Matt Damoning him, that is it. He now at a point. Is he at a point
where
in
New Zealand doing it?
Where he's at a point where he's like, you know what, this whole calling my name and making me sound retarded thing is not okay.
Yeah, well,
because I'm a serious actor and I've done a lot of great work.
Yeah, no, I think,
and you keep reducing me to my name said as if I'm a fucking doofus.
Well, I'm sure at the time he was quite insulted.
Yeah.
You know, because he had nothing to do with it, right? That was just the guys from Team America whatever doing that. Yeah. Well, I'm sure at the time he was quite offended, but then since then his career's really gone up, not down.
No. Yeah.
So I reckon now he can look back and laugh. But I do think that, and this ties in nicely, I do think that when people say that to him, he doesn't go, "Ha, classic, that's real funny." That's like when people say to you, "Guy Smiley,"
and to you,
Harley Davidson.
Yeah. So it's the equivalent of that.
It's the equivalent of that. Damon. It's like, oh, shut the fuck up. You're not funny. You're not original. You're literally the 1,000th person to say that. which ties in nicely to me being not funny and unoriginal, was when I was at my audition the other day for a fat, undesirable man.
Yeah.
Someone else walked in, which was Carl. I can't remember his last name, but he was Nick on Shortland Street forever. You remember Nick on Shortland Street? He grew up on Shortland Street, basically. His name, everyone like Carl something. Definitely not urban. And so he walked in, and I was like, "Hey!" And I was like, I used to be Facebook friends with him before he deleted me. And I was like, "Hey!" And I was like, tick, 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 trying to remember his name, and I was like, "Nick." And he was like, you know, and you know,
the least responsive response.
like didn't even look at me, like, you know, sort of like and like picked up his paperwork and like went and sat down, you know, and I was like, oh, that didn't go right. And then I was like, I'm Harley, you know, because I was like, I might remember me from Facebook. And he was like, oh, I'm Carl. And then I was like, oh, yeah, I just did what everyone, I just Matt Damoned him.
You go, I just did what you hate the most in your life.
Because guaranteed, everybody calls this guy Nick every time they see him. Guaranteed.
I'm
hey,
just
Nick! So,
hey, Nick, why don't you spend 20 years on Shortland Street?
Congratulations on your career, which is way more successful than mine. But so anyway, Nick, if you're listening, sorry about that,
we
mate.
apologise for that, Nick. We know what it's like. We know. With names like ours, we know.
We know.
Actually, someone brought up, Shelley's friend brought up, he was like, Harley's riding a Suzuki?
Yeah.
That's just wrong.
Yeah. Does he listen to this podcast?
No.
Well, good, because...
Because I'm about to tear him a new asshole.
Well, he's not listening. No, because... So, I've got a motorbike, right? It's parked outside the house. It's a 2005 motorbike. It's not particularly old, but it's designed to look a bit retro. And it's I like it. I think it's a cool motorbike. And he was... I was going to work or something, so I grabbed it, and he was coming in to help you guys move in to the new house. And he was like, "Is that yours?" or something like that. And I was like, "Haha, yeah, funny." And he goes, "Yeah, I know you're not stealing it, because nobody would want that, or nobody'd be seen on that."
Yeah.
And it was like, ha. You know, like,
you go,
like that's the equivalent.
This is my vehicle, bro.
Well, I mean,
don't disrespect my vehicle.
I paid for it. I like it. Not only that, though, it's kind of the equivalent of somebody meeting you for the first time and going, while you're getting in your car and being like, "Hey, man, you know how I know you're not stealing that car? Because it's a piece of shit. You loser. You fucking dickhead.
Yeah, fucking horrible taste, you dipshit.
You've got shit taste and you can't afford good things.
And you're an idiot for liking dumb things."
And then now to hear this follow up, I'm not even around to defend myself, and he says, "Hey, your friend Harley rides a Suzuki. That's like riding your cousin." So that's strike two, buddy.
That's strike two, Wayne. But thank you for helping us move in.
We didn't help me.
So anyway, Matt Damon is in The Martian. It's by Ridley Scott, who is the director of such films as Alien, Blade Runner, Legend. That's a bit obscure. And your favourite one, Gladiator.
Yep.
You love to bum Gladiator all the time.
I do like Gladiator. And I do like Alien too.
Yeah. And basically, but he's always been a sort of a working director.
Blade Runner needs a bit of work.
Oh, let's not go there.
Needs a bit of work.
Let's
be honest.
Go
it's not your best
there.
work, mate.
That is so disrespectful.
Rid, it's not your best work, mate. So...
Shit, quote the Harley nevermore. So anyway, but he's always been a bit of a working director, so like he's made these classic films. He's made many more classic films than most directors in their lifetime ever will. But on the other hand, he has also made kind of shitty films, and films that don't really work, or films that are kind of like weird anomalies. And this, they say, is a bit of a return to form for him.
Right.
Which I agree, but you know, he's set these impossibly high standards.
Yeah.
But it is very good, and Matt Damon is very good in it. And I think the most interesting thing for me, no spoilers here, but
better not be.
He spends a lot of time on Mars alone because he gets left there.
Yeah.
Can we say that?
Well, it's in the trailer, so yes.
So anyway, that means that basically he's doing most of his acting to himself. He's not acting opposite anyone. And for me, I know as an actor, I find that is the worst, most difficult, most dislikable kind of acting, and he's doing that for 90% of the film. But for me anyway, I hate not acting opposite someone.
You get so much more when you're acting with somebody. Even just looking at a real person while you're saying the lines makes you feel more, and you react more, and you do just little things in your face that you wouldn't do if you were looking at a wall, but you do because you're looking at a real person's face. Your eyes move to their mouth or up to their eyeballs or their rack or whatever.
What?
Well, you just look more natural. I'm just saying you look more natural.
You look more natural when you're staring at a girl's rack, is what you're saying.
No, briefly, you do the eye flick. You flick them down and you flick them back up. It's an important acting move, okay? The rack flick is a very important acting move, guys.
They're like, I'm watching dailies of the zombie film. I'm like, why is he always staring at fucking Jocelyn's tits?
Now we know why.
He was acting.
It's an acting technique. The Meisner, it's the boobsner.
Boobsner. Harley's coined a new acting technique, the boobsner.
Because when you look just blankly at something, it doesn't look right. It doesn't look like you're listening. Okay, so you got to be natural.
Yeah. So when you stare at them old titties,
it works.
Your acting becomes more realistic. That's what you're saying. The boobsner.
I'm officially coining that.
The boobsner. The boobsner technique. So that's going to be part of our acting tutorial. Yeah. But yeah, for me, I don't know about you, but acting for me alone is the hardest, and I also just dislike it. It's not fun. I just walk into set and then kind of sit in front of the camera and try and imagine something, or try and feel something, as opposed to obviously having something to bounce off. So the fact that he does that for pretty much the entire film is really pretty damn impressive. It really shows good acting. What I call good acting. He's doing it. So I recommend that. That's a good film.
Well, that ties in
into
nicely.
this question.
I am going to go see the Martian. That's, as a space nerd, that is definitely on my to-see list.
As a space nerd who jizzes hard to particles and space dust and what have you.
To be honest, the particles and space dust, it's a little bit boring for me, but I'm more into aliens and but the real kind, not the probe your bum kind and leave stupid crop circles, not that kind. Obviously I don't believe in UFO stuff.
The only thing that's probed your bum is a finger.
Exactly. Well, there was this one time. It's just, we all experiment, right? So anyway, we've got a question here. Enough of that. Enough about my bum. Enough about me putting things in my bum. Let's move straight on to Will Fleming.
Yeah.
Will Fleming asks, or says, this is a listener topic. He wants to know our thoughts on water on Mars. What does it mean for humans? What does it mean for everything?
Well, here's the thing, because Matt Damon did because NASA had this special announcement, Matt Damon did a toast.
Yeah.
And honestly, it was about a Mars announcement.
Yeah.
And I honestly thought it was like, hey, we found aliens.
Yeah.
Or like, hey, actually what I thought it was is like, we are now announcing our first trip to Mars. Not now, but like in a decade.
Yeah.
But it's locked in now.
Yeah.
We're building the spaceship and everything. It's on the way.
Yeah.
And then he goes, hey, guess what, guys? There's good reason to believe from photos and what have you that there's some liquid on Mars. And I was like, what the fuck? This is why people hate science. This is why people get angry at NASA.
Yeah.
Because they tout water. And now don't get me wrong, and I'm sure, Harley, you will come in and tell
defend
me,
NASA.
Just tell me how great water on Mars is. And I obviously, life and all that bullshit. But, for the layman, for me, looking to the stars and dreaming, it's pretty fucking dull.
Well, see, I disagree. Now, I admit, like, it's not as exciting as announcing aliens on Mars, but let's be honest, if they were going to announce aliens on Mars, they would be microbes on Mars.
Yeah, microbes.
You know, they're not, like,
thought they were gonna say
fully
microbes.
formed, walking around aliens.
Yeah, I
and
thought we were going to see some amoebas or
yeah,
something.
but the layman's going to be bored by microbes on Mars, too. They're going to be like, oh, yeah.
But technically that's life.
I know.
That is
It's a big deal.
It's a lot bigger than a bit of water trickling about.
But you know
the
what's
place.
going to happen? As soon as those microbes are announced, when they find them, because I do think they'll find them, what's going to happen is all the different religious people, all the different religions, they're going to suddenly have this feeling, this horrible feeling of like, well, oh, shit. If there's life on other planets, why the fuck isn't it mentioned in the Bible or the Quran or whatever? And they'll have issues with that, right? So they'll need to make up lies to keep themselves feeling good. And you know what they'll say? They'll say, oh, well, it's these microbes on Mars are sort of panspermia from Earth. That it's contamination from Earth. You know, asteroids hit Earth, shoot rocks up in the air. Mars passes through the orbit. The rocks land on Mars and contaminate Mars with microbes from Earth.
Right. So panspermia is literally not someone jizzing in a pan and sending it to Mars.
No, that's not what they do.
Kind of what I thought.
No.
When you said panspermia.
No, it's the natural spread of life through the galaxy. It's a theory, an unproven theory. And so anyway, I think it's quite a big deal because now they know where to send, the probes and so on to actually search for life on Mars, which is quite a big deal. Like, because at the moment you've got a whole planet. It's a whole planet. Where are you going to find microbes? They're literally microscopic.
Well, you send it to the place that Matt Damon went, obviously.
Obviously. And you'll find him. He's alive. That's life.
Can I say one spoiler?
No spoilers. No, because the listeners don't want to hear spoilers about a very current movie, and neither do I. I don't want to hear a single peep about it. I don't want to hear a thing about it.
Okay.
Now, look. So it is a big deal as well, though, just for funding, because now they can now NASA can approach the government and say, okay, well, look, we're not just sending robots to this sort of this barren rock. We're sending them to a place where there's running water. It's our neighbor. Give us X amount of $1 billion that we need so that we can send a proper mission there to like really find life, because it's quite a big deal. And the country that discovers life on another planet first, that's a big sort of feather in your cap. If the Russians do it first, well, the Americans will be pissed off about that. Yeah. So there are a lot of sort of consequences of it, but most of us sort of people that have been following the missions on Mars knew it was going to be water, because they had invited a guy who very first sort of discovered these sort of running water looking photos. So we kind of knew, so it was sort of not that exciting. Yeah.
Well, look, when they find aliens, that's when I'm on board.
Yeah.
Or when they're sending a guy up there. Yeah, count me in.
Yeah.
Until that time,
I don't want to hear about your boring shit.
Keep your liquid found fucking formations to yourself, please, NASA.
No,
I'll show you one of my liquid formations, all right?
It's a big deal, and it's great news. Do you know why they can't send... I'm pretty sure they can't send the rovers that are there, right, on Mars. I mean, aside from the fact that they're a world away, but we can't just send a rover to go and check out this water. And the reason why is because we'll contaminate them. Because no matter how well they sort of decontaminate something from Earth, there's always a possibility that some sort of microbe is going to survive. And so they can't send it in because then they risk essentially ruining all of their research by well, I guess they risk killing off. I guess Mars microbes with Earth microbes. But
there's also, I think, the last day on Mars is a cautionary tale about that. Because some microbes get in and turn people into aliens,
right?
Vicious aliens that kill each other.
Well,
so science, we were already saying be careful.
Now I'm excited about Mars. I keep up with it. They're planning on sending someone there in 2030, a manned mission to Mars in 2030.
Well, I look forward to that.
Or in the 2030s, I say.
I look forward to that. How long does it take to get to Mars?
6 months. Depending on the orbits.
Is that all?
It depends on the orbits, because if they're...
I thought it was 6 years.
Oh, no. It depends on the orbits. When we're closer to them, if they're on the other side of the sun, obviously it's going to take a little bit longer.
Fucking Mars just next door.
Yeah, it's just next door. So, 6 months or something like that, but it depends. But tell you what, though, you want to talk about life... in the solar system, Mars is exciting, but it is still just kind of a barren rock that may used to have had life on it, but may not anymore. But Europa. Now that's a moon of Jupiter, right? And they've discovered an ocean underneath the ice. It's got an icy shell, and then underneath the icy shell is a massive ocean, like miles and miles deep.
Yeah.
And it's been there for billions of years. You know, and they've found like geological movement in the ice above, so it's like moving constantly, and that's what you need. You need liquid water and movement and heat and all that stuff to have life. So there might actually be giant alien fish swimming around in this massive billions-year-old ocean in our backyard.
How far away is that?
I'm not sure how long it takes to get to Jupiter
Ascending.
Europa. Yeah.
Watch that movie.
I'm not
See
sure
what happened there.
I couldn't give you with any confidence an estimate, an ETA on on how long it takes to get to Jupiter, but it's pretty far.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've talked. I hope that solves your.
So, thank you, Will, for your question. That's really good. I always love it when we get to talk about anything space related.
Me, the opposite.
Guy hates it, but that's cool. That's cool.
But also, we'll say we were on his podcast.
Yes.
We're on his podcast, which I think might be now called the New Zealand Podcast or something like that.
Really?
Well, I mean, that was his,
that's
his new Twitter handle.
Right, okay. So Will Fleming used to do one called Podfellas.
Yep.
You can probably still contact him through that if you want to, see what he's up to and find out what his new one is.
A lot of great interviews with very interesting people, including a certain Guy Pigden and Harley Neville.
Yeah. Separately, though. So you got to talk to us as individuals and find out.
Yeah. We found out how much we hated each other.
Basically. And so anyway, at Podfellas would be how to find him on Twitter, and then, I guess he'll point you towards his new one, which, as far as we know, is unnamed.
It's coming, it's coming up sometime in October. But I think you can find him, or maybe at New Zealand Podcast. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that's 100% right. But we may be, I don't know if this is true, we may be the very first guests on it. It's possible that's not true at all. He built up a bank of people, and he just has to come in for a rainy day. We're not the first. We're not even close to the first. We're the shitty guys in reserve for when he's looking for someone and he can't get someone that week, and he puts us on.
Yeah.
That could be entirely the case.
That could be the case. I hope, on the one hand, we're on the first one because it feels special. But on the other hand, I hope we're not on the first one because that was when he's going to have the least listeners. You want to build it up. You want to be on his 100th episode, Oh,
I guess so. Well, we'll probably be on that as well.
Yeah, well, that's true. We'll make sure we get an invite to that.
Well, if you're listening.
Now, speaking of being the shitty reserve guys, we recently didn't get $100,000.
Well, I also wanted to talk about that, actually. I mean, this is probably maybe a good topic to sort of finish up on.
Okay.
Because now we're getting serious, because this is a filmmaking podcast. It's a podcast about our lives. Right? And... basically, we, as a filmmakers, you suffer a lot of rejection. And you often suffer a lot of setbacks.
Chicks are like, you've got no money.
And so, and we basically, as Harley just said, we found out that we missed out on our web series proposal, which we spent, or certainly I spent, a very long time working on. And we found out that we were not successful, and not only were we not successful, we didn't make the shortlist. Of the people that are really considering, we weren't one of them. And not only that, and so I guess what worries me about that is we are the web guys, we're the internet guys.
Well, there's not many other people in New Zealand with more views than us.
Exactly, and so
search Pigville on YouTube and you'll see.
So the very fact that we're kind of like leading the charge with internet and the fact that we've built up this fan base and all this stuff, is because it's one thing to say, well, look, you're not good enough for some film funding maybe, but we are the web dudes. And I also want to point out, Harley, that we've been left off this fucking New Zealand Web Fest, and this is the same lady that started not replying to your emails.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And not featuring you and not replying to your emails.
Yeah.
And so we've just been shut out in the dark. So that was a big blow. Obviously, we would have loved to have had, all that money to make or to keep making the Guy and Harley show. I also found out that I'd been rejected for tickets to the Big Screen Symposium, which is basically the Film Commission gives out a certain amount of tickets to who they consider up-and-coming filmmakers, which they do not consider me, to attend the thing and learn, because it's like $300 basically if you want to pay for it. The Big Screen Symposium is basically a bunch of masterclasses about filmmaking from people like Jane Campion, etc., etc. I also found out that I got rejected from the masterclass for Jane Campion. So when you had to apply to be part of that masterclass in the Big Screen Symposium, and they select basically the top sort of 25 filmmakers. 25. So we're not. This is not the top 3. This is 25 to 30 people that they think are good filmmakers that would benefit from learning from Jane Campion, who is, obviously did the piano and a bunch of other stuff, and is like one of our greatest filmmaker exports. And obviously, I thought that this would be incredibly beneficial to me working on older. I get to talk about drama with, one of the best in the business. And I was rejected for that. So, and it's also, so it was not even about, not getting it, but also what always upsets me a little bit is not being in the conversation. So it's not even being close to getting it. And then sort of going, okay, well, who are the other people that are getting this? And, at a certain point in time, we could say, well, look, our film's not out yet, so that's why we didn't get it.
Yeah.
Or before even that, look, we're unproven talent. We haven't made anything, so that's why we didn't get it. And then we could say, well, the film hasn't been released in so-and-so, so that's why we didn't get it. But now the film is out. Lots of people can see the film. The film is readily available. The film is the first thing that I talk about. And so at a certain point, you're just saying, yeah, look, that film is not good, or it's not good enough.
Yeah.
And so, but we come across this issue of rejection and sort of kind of being left out in the outer sphere, not really being part of who they consider good. Or who they consider talent for the future. We've been in this position before. I'm getting a little bit sick of being in this position because it happens so often, and I spend so much time drafting these pretty solid applications, and then them just being like, well, no. And it's like, well, look, can I just get a thing to say, like, look, we just don't consider you that. So you can stop applying, because I understand that it takes so much time to apply.
You sound like a fucking whiny bitch. Like, what you want an email from them saying, "Sorry, we're never going to apply." I guess consider you for these things. That sounds like something a passive aggressive sort of. I don't want to be sexist, but a woman would say, like, a passive-aggressive style, like when you're in a relationship, they say that sort of thing. Well, if you're not going to give me this one, then, give me a letter saying you're not going to give me any of them.
I guess it was more
hundreds of people, 106 people, 106 teams applied for that funding.
Well, I'm not talking about the web series.
But this is the same theory. It's the same
not
theme.
Really.
It's the same theme. And it's like yeah, you're not gonna get them all. And there are so many people applying, and it is a failing on your behalf to not do the appropriate networking, because that is at least half the battle. It's possibly more. It's not about being a good filmmaker. It's about knowing the right people, being friends with the right people, like being in the right places at the right time and all that stuff. That's so important in this particular, in any industry, but particularly in this industry. It's like you've got to be going to these events and shaking these hands and licking these assholes, in order to get the funding that you want. So, for example, there was one called what was it called? Something Road, like one of the series. Did you look at the people that got it?
For which?
For the web series one.
Oh, no.
It was something or other Road, right? And it was this web series that got funding like last year, right? And apparently it's quite good.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of it.
It's had like a couple of hundred views on each episode kind of thing. Like it's from a business standpoint, it's not been a success.
Yeah.
Because it's not, the idea behind investing $100,000 in making a web series is that a lot of people will see it, and they haven't. So, therefore, it didn't work. But this year, they got the funding again, despite last year not working.
Yeah.
Now, what's going on there? Okay, well, I'll tell you what's going on there. They've got technical ability. They learnt last year from their application about what works and what doesn't work. So they've put in a really strong application in that sense and said all the right things and ticked all the boxes. And also they've met the people already and they know them and they've shook their hands and licked their assholes at some point. And so that's like why they got the funding despite not actually being appropriate for it, despite having not worked last time, so it's really, you've got to get the other side of things is not just being a good filmmaker, it's also the politics of it all, which is the part that a lot of filmmakers hate. But, that's the really successful filmmakers. I think they're really good at filmmaking, but they're also really good at the politics of, shaking the right hands and meeting the right people.
Well, I think you might be right. And my point is not woe is me. My point is when you get rejection after rejection, like literally when in a 13-year career you get one yes and
16 year.
You get
16 years, bro.
16 years. You get one yes.
Yeah.
In 16 years, right? Now, I think because I think it is wrong to say you don't care. Like it's wrong to say, well, like you can't get your hopes up. Yeah, you can't get your hopes up. That's true. But also, if you didn't care, you wouldn't be doing it. So of course you're going to care, and of course you're going to be upset. So how do you personally, Harley Neville, deal with the ongoing rejection?
Well, I'll tell you exactly how I do it, is that I assume that we're never going to get anything, right? I assume as soon as we apply for something, if I go for anything, I assume that I'm not going to get it. Like we're lucky to have gotten that one big chunk of funding in 16 years. It was a massive opportunity, and it's still paying dividends. And it's the same with my acting. I've had 3 commercials in 10 years worth of auditioning. 3 in 10. That's horrible. And they've all been in the last year basically. So I've had like 9 years straight of rejection. In my acting, but so the trick is to go into it assuming that you're not going to get it, right? Pretend you're not going to get it, but don't let that get you down. Like, chuck your name in the hat. But while you're doing that, you're also concentrating on your own projects, just doing your own thing, which is one of our great strengths, I think, is, for example, Older. We shot Older with no real funding apart from like crowdfunding, and no real support from anybody bigger than ourselves. And that's the trick, right? So you throw your name in the hat for these funding things, but then you assume you're not going to get it and then just work on your own shit. And if you happen to get one of them, well, fucking excellent, great, amazing. But if you don't, well, then, I guess, that's just the way it is. That's just the nature of the beast.
Well, I guess the problem for me is I have to keep a glimmer of hope alive with each application, or I would not apply with the same level of intent and
well, you still have
ferocity and sort of passion.
You do still have to put forward your best foot, obviously. I'm not suggesting
that if I just completely assumed that, I would not do that.
No, but you have to assume it after you've made the application, not before. Right. You don't go into it going, I'm not going to get this, so I'm not going to put forward a very good application. You go into it assuming you're going to get it, but then once it's in, you dispose it from your mind. You're like, okay, cool. That's why it wasn't a big deal to me. I mean, obviously I don't like it, but it wasn't like a big heartbreak to me that we didn't get the web series funding, because I didn't expect us to get it.
Right.
Really.
Well, I guess to me, the more heartbreaking stuff to me is the big screen symposiums.
I do think we put forward a very, you put forward a very strong application. I do think when I read that application, I was like, this is a great proposal. This is a really great proposal. So I do think that there was a lot of really great work put into it, and I think it was really good. But yeah, I still assumed that we wouldn't get it.
Well, I guess I was less disappointed about the web series thing.
I don't think it's anything personal.
But I was more disappointed about, because I apply for all these training opportunities, basically. And I really I obviously love filmmaking, and I want to learn, and I want to get better, and I do as much as I can myself. But, at a certain point too, you do need people to sort of take you on the shoulder and go, okay, I've read your script. I'm a very experienced person. Let me help you make it better. I've seen your edit. Let me help you make that better. Let me talk about all the things and all the pitfalls that you're falling into now, and let me help you with them. And what I feel like is that sometimes my growth is compromised because, I'm just sitting and I want to learn, and I feel like I've done enough to earn those learning opportunities, and I don't get them. And so I think that for me, that's the more heartbreaking thing, as opposed to the actual money as in terms of receiving funding and stuff, is like, because all I'm asking is the opportunity to learn, and when I see the people that do get it, like, there's a lot of amazing people, but you can never convince me, for example, that someone that has done a short film is better than someone that has done a feature film. And so to see kind of, because at a certain point as well, is it's not that you're just sort of like you're on a rise, but that also people are leapfrogging over you constantly. And I think
that's how it feels, but that's not true. I'm sure that each one of those people that's leapfrogging over you is almost certainly, saying the same thing.
Well, I guess maybe, but there are certainly chosen people.
But exactly, and we are those people because we got $250,000 to shoot a feature film, which has been a massive training and learning experience. And then on top of that, we got funding to go to LA for a film festival, which arguably is a second lot of chunk of change that we've gotten. So there are things out there, and you are at the moment nominated for 2 awards at the annual Writers Guild Award. We did also get nominated for 2 awards at the MOAs, the New Zealand Film Awards.
Wow.
There is, you just can't, you've got to understand that the ratio is horrible. For every 99 things you go for, you're going to get 1. Or so every 100 things you're going to get 1, So 99% of the time you're going to get rejected. And that's just the way it is. And I actually think we're doing pretty well. I think that I'm pretty grateful for all the opportunities that have been sent our way. And I reckon I reckon we keep on this path, we've actually got a bright future.
Well, I will say that you apply for a lot less things than I do.
Yeah, well, that's true. I am going to apply at the moment to be in the casting hothouse, which is due on the 5th, so I've got to get onto that tomorrow, which is sort of a great casting opportunity for actors to get in front of a whole bunch of casting agents that do big American shows like sort of CSI and these types of things.
Yeah.
So I'm going to apply for that, but only 93 people get it or something like that.
Right.
And I doubt I'm anywhere near in the top 93 people applying. But I'll put my my name in the hat anyway.
Yeah, so I think that's the other thing. Is like, I do,
But I'm assuming.
I guess I sort of always lean towards that, but I also always think that, like, because we keep going further and we keep doing more and we keep doing more impressive things, that then someone will take stock of that.
Well, I'll tell you something about that. I think that is really a difference in perspective. See, you're on the inside there. You're the one doing the hard yards, putting together these proposals and stuff like that, right? So you're in there, and you're investing your heart in every single one.
Yeah.
And I think that I have a better position and ability to stand back and look at the big picture, and I do. And I look at it and I go, well, 5 years ago we were making Revenge of the Turd. A film about a killer poo which lives in Guy's backyard.
My parents' backyard.
A guy's parents' backyard, because he was living with his parents at the time. And 5 years later, which 5 years feels like a long time to anybody, but 5 years in the grand scheme of life, when you see how much we've progressed in the last 5 years, it's pretty fucking phenomenal. Like, there's a big difference between Revenge of the Turd and I Survived a Zombie Holocaust or older. And there's even a big difference between I Survived a Zombie Holocaust and older, technically and all that stuff. Like, it looks really good. It's a big achievement, So I do think that, I have this ability to sort of stand back and look at the big picture. And basically, I see we're on the rise, man. Our stock is rising, and it's awesome.
Right. I don't see that.
Yeah, you don't. It's because you're too close. You're too close.
I see us going down.
No, you're too close.
The downward trend.
That's the problem. You're looking at the small picture, not the big picture.
But I mean, I will say, for people, my approach to rejection is, I get very angry about it.
Yeah, you do. Guy gets a little bit grumpy.
I get
about
very
this
grumpy.
Stuff.
I get upset.
He gets upset when we get rejected.
I get emotional. And I.
Do you ever shed a tear when you're by yourself?
I don't.
Be honest. Do you shed a tear? Do you shed a tear when you? These are our friends. The people listening to this podcast, all 50 of them are our friends. So, like,
to be honest, I don't shed a tear.
But that's because you're a hard man from New Zealand.
But it's more...
You bury your emotions.
Well, it's more because I'm so angry. So like I'm walking around in this heightened state of anger and frustration.
Yeah, well, I can see it, sometimes. Like yesterday, I could tell the guy was a bit pissed off. And so could Angie, actually. So I guess it didn't take it didn't take your best mate, to see the guy was in a bit of a shitty mood.
Right.
And it was because we had this word that we didn't get the 100 Gs.
Yeah. And so I do that, and I do probably think about that too much. But then I also, I think, my sanity is derived from Pigville in a lot of ways.
Well, so is mine, I think. In a different way. But
So, when that happens, I get angry, I get upset, I fly into a bit of a rage, and I, feel all those things, and I just feel really disheartened. But then I guess when I'm at that bottom of that pit, I go, okay, well, what is the next thing? What is the next thing that we are doing? What do I have to look forward to?
Where's my lifeline?
Yeah, what do I have to look forward to, and how can I progress? And how can I, at least, because I don't necessarily think there's necessarily a learning experience from these things, but it's but what can I do? And a lot of that stuff is well, I can do this Pigville thing. I can work on this Pigville thing. I can edit older. I can start writing the next thing that I think we're going to do as a production company. I think I can write a skit that I think we might shoot. And all of those things definitely, by increments, make me feel much better. And in fact, is really the main thing that makes me feel better. There's nothing. I don't feel better if I were just to think, oh, well, we just did these things and that's that. I look to the future, and I look to whatever it is or what could be, and I start hoping on that. But, if I did not have Pigville, and I did not have those, that outlet, and those avenues and those things to work on, because it's a beautiful thing to be able to say, look, I want to make a short film, and with the power of Pigville, you and I can make that short film. It's very hard to go, I really want to make a short film, and no one will give me any money, and no one will give me the permission, and no one will help me do it. And we're in a very fortunate position where we can, to some degree, shape our own reality in that sense. And I think, that is very fortunate, and I think that for filmmakers and for artists, that is a very important thing to have, is that thing to be okay, look, what's the best thing? The best thing is I get given $100,000, or the best thing is that I get told I can make a film and I get given money for it. But what's the thing below that? And can I still do those things if I don't get that best thing? And the answer for us, very fortunately, a lot of the time has been, well, we can do it. It might not be under the ideal circumstances, and we might struggle for certain things, and it might be a lot harder than if we had those things, but we can still do that. And that's where I take my solace.
Well, Pigville for me as well helps sort of preserve my mental state as well, in the sense that I pity people in the least condescending way possible. I pity people that don't have something like this to work on, a kind of a creative thing, when I've always got something on the horizon that I'm looking forward to coming out or to working on, which is awesome. I feel like if you took that away from me and I was just a guy who just works at a job,
would you be depressed?
I think I would be, yeah.
Would you be angry?
I think I'd probably be a little bit angry.
Would you be worst
but who would I be angry? Who would I be angry at?
At the world.
At the world? I'd probably be angry at myself for not working hard enough to find, to create these opportunities, or to, get in a position to have these opportunities.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway, I really feel like Pigville was pretty good for my mental health as well, because it's even when I'm down about something else, I've always got something to look forward to. So in this case, on for 4 years it was Zombie Holocaust coming out. Now that it's out, now it's Older coming out, and when Older comes out, it'll be Blood Throne. One word. Blood Throne. Coming out. So yeah, it's been really good for my mental health as well. Now, kind of related, and moving on just quickly because we are running out of time here. You are nominated for these two awards at the Writers Guild, right? Annual awards, and they're on the 8th, and today's like the 4th or 3rd or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's soonish. And
did you get your girlfriend a ticket, by the way?
I haven't got her a ticket yet. That's on my to-do list. Well, I didn't
Book just one.
Well, to be fair, I didn't know this was a girlfriend thing. I thought it was like just another
This
Pigville
is the
filmmaking
bros.
thing. Yeah,
This
I
is
thought
the
it was a
Pigville
Pigville
bros.
filmmaking thing. And
No
I thought,
girls allowed.
I thought you were going, so I just bought one ticket.
No
I didn't,
girls
I didn't
allowed.
know, and then it turns out it's just sort of presumably a sort of a fancy
Soiree.
a fancier awards night. But I got an email the other day from the Writers Guild, and I was very concerned to see that in the email it said starting the night with a cash bar, let's kick this off, or something like that. And I was like, what kind of 2-bit fucking award ceremony is this? What do you mean a cash bar? As in your cash? Your cash is paying for my drinks, right? You, the Writers Guild, like it costs $45 to go to this award ceremony. Now, if they're not putting a bar on, right, and I want like fancy food and a lot of drink. For my $45. And now, if they're not, what's that $45 for? Like to hire the fucking Otara Community Centre? Like, what is this?
Nibbles. No, they do have it says open bar at 7 o'clock.
Right.
Get in quick.
Right, yeah, get in real fucking quick.
So we'll be there at 6.
We'll be double fisting that shit.
We'll be there at 6 p.m. chugging drinks like there's no tomorrow.
Or we might go to Revelry where they're having a fancy VIP party that we're exclusively invited to.
That's right, because
and we get
VIPs.
some fancy free cocktails there too. Not to humble brag too hard.
Yeah.
But so anyway, that's that. I did have one last thing to say, very, very briefly.
Okay.
Well, I could probably almost leave it, but basically, I did Edge for both of my auditions in our new segment, Living on the Edge. Now, edging is the act of masturbating until the point of coming, but then not quite coming in order to preserve your chi. Which was taught to me by Jason Biggs in Orange is the New Black.
Jason Biggs of American Pie fame and Orange is the New Black. Chi also being cheese.
Being cum. So I've got this new routine where I will edge. I've been trying edging on my on days that I've got auditions.
Ridiculous concept.
Keep my money,
Nonsense.
And for my auditions.
No scientific backup.
Last couple of times I did it did work. I got shortlisted for a very big commercial, and I got put on hold after I got shortlisted. So it did have some power. Now I tried it for these latest 2 auditions of mine, but now both auditions were a bit lukewarm, I feel. And to be honest, on both days, I kind of had these half-hearted, lukewarm edging attempts. Basically, I wasn't in the mood, and I was trying to force it, And so instead of edging and like walking the line, I basically had a lazy half a wank, and which is just not really as effective. And then I went into the audition,
a flaccid penis wank,
like forcing it half wank, and so I feel like as a result, my performance in these auditions kind of reflected that.
I think I've got the answer for you, mate.
What's that?
Just a big wad on Angie's face.
Oh God, I hope she doesn't listen to this episode.
Because you've tried it one way. Yeah, sure, it worked for a little while. Now it's getting a little bit half-assed. Now you've got to go the whole hog and go boom, get that sucker, and then now the audition.
No, I'll go in there. I want a nap. I'll rock into the audition, and I'm keen for a snooze.
No,
I'll be like, I'm hungry and want a nap.
No, you'll be in a perfect state of serenity because you just came your balls off. And you're happy. That's your chi, mate. It's your chi. It's after you've come and you're just you're so relaxed. You're so mellow. You're just like, yeah, man, just whatever. Let this audition come to me. Let this acting be. And that's it. Easy peasy. So just jizz one out on our dear flatmate.
Shelley.
No, that's my job. And this is Angie's job as well. She has to do it because it's your job to get the auditions.
Well, look, I'm just glad that you're the one saying all this stuff. I'm also glad that
Angie, it's your job. And because how do you he's got to bring home the bacon. He's a seven grand job, $8,000 job. Guess who's going to get some of that money? And a lovely dinner. You. And all you have to do, take a shot for me, girl. Whoa.
And on that note, I think
Just
we'll
take a
call it a
shot
wrap.
for me.
We'll just wrap it up right there. So, look, guys, thank you very much for listening. If you want to get in touch with us, facebook.com/GuyAndHarley. Give us your listener topics. And otherwise, make sure you go and watch I Survived a Zombie Holocaust. It's on iTunes and various other places. And for the love of God, please just give it a good rating.
And you want to talk about edging? I want to talk about cum serenity.
All right, yeah, let us know. Which side are you on? Edging or cum serenity?
Yeah, that's right. That's for the next
Topic
next
of the
episode.
week. Edging or cum serenity?
Yes. Which do you prefer?
All right, cool. So, see you next week, guys.
See you later.
I'm living on the edge. Got a song I wrote. Everything and anything goes. I'm not a fight 'cause they on my side. I'm living on the edge. Got a song I wrote. Everything and anything goes. We got it real quick and they're all around.
You've been listening to the Guy and Harley podcast, proudly brought to you by Pigville Productions.
Laugh it up, fuzzball.